Hey, this is Coach Deanna with another episode of the Winning Element podcast, The Athlete's Journey. Today, we are on the journey with John, the Manimal Beneduce. John is an MMA fighter for Bellator and a human transformation specialist. John is hilarious, he is knowledgeable, and he's a ton of fun to be around. In this episode, we get into his story of losing 100 pounds, owning a gym, and really becoming the Manimal. He just announced that he got a contract to fight for Bellator, so we're going to talk about the strategies, techniques, and the tools he is using to prepare in his training camp. We also talk about energy healing, human identity, spirituality, and so much more. So be ready for a wide-ranging interview and discussion because we take a lot of turns, so just go on the journey with us because it's going to be a ton of fun. This podcast is brought to you by The Winning Element, a mental and physical performance platform for athletes. We just launched our flagship product, The Winning Element Gold Edition, and it's my best-selling book, The Winning Element, An Athlete's Guide to Maximizing Mental and Physical Performance, and the 365-Day Dynamic Planner. Regardless of the level you compete or competed at, this program is going to be a game changer for you in 2019. You're going to learn hundreds of strategies to elevate your game, and you're also going to have the tool to help you organize and optimize your days. Now, I wish I had this information and this tool while I was growing up and even when I was playing volleyball in college. This comprehensive athlete development program is perfect for individual athletes and for teams. Listeners and fans of this podcast will receive 10% off, free shipping, online resources, and a free audiobook, and more bonuses. So make 2019 your year and get the gold edition today. There's going to be a link in the show notes, so make sure you follow that so that you can get all of the bonuses. This podcast is also brought to you by the Mushroom Elixirs at foursigmatic.com. There's studies popping up everywhere showing the efficacy and the medicinal qualities in various mushrooms. Medicinal mushrooms have been shown to be immunomodulators, meaning they help to regulate your immune system. You know, we're at this part of the year where it's easy to get sick, so make sure you do yourself a solid and give your body the raw materials to defend itself from fatigue and illness. Four Sigmatic makes delicious mushroom coffee, mushroom tea, and even hot chocolate. I love Four Sigmatic because it tastes great and it's nutritional insurance for my body. I'm telling you, adding mushroom coffee to your morning protein shake is a game changer. It's absolutely delicious and it's one of the best parts of my day, and I look forward to it every single day. So go over to foursigmatic.com and get 15% off your mushroom elixirs by using the code word Deanna, D-E-A-N-N-A. As always, you can access show notes, the special offer for the gold edition, and our product highlight for this episode at www.BeTheWinningElement.com/podcast006. I hope you enjoyed this podcast with John, the Manimal Beneduce. Let's go. Please welcome to the Winning Element, my friend and fellow servant of the universe, John, the Manimal Beneduce.
Woo! Let me tell you, really happy to be here, Deanna. Wild and free. So,
I love it.
Yeah, I'm really happy to be on the Winning Element. Thanks for having me.
Of course. I'm so excited that you're here and that I get to spend probably the next hour or more because I'm not going to put limits on us because I have a feeling that this podcast is going to be super fun and awesome. So we have zero limits. So let's just flow back and forth. You know, we met in November at the Aubrey Marcus weekend in Santa Monica, and I instantly wanted to hang out with you. I remember that you were at the hotel, and there was a time that I saw you walking around Venice and like the hotel barefoot, like a manscaped homeless person. Because you're a little bit more you're a little bit more clean at the Aubrey Bar. Yeah, you're a little bit more trim than today. I know you're in the middle of a training camp, so it's a little bit raw. It's a little grown out. But when I saw you, I was like, is that a homeless person? No, that's a buff manscaped manimal. And you know, I was bundled up. It was like 50 degrees and I was like bundled up and you were in shorts and a t-shirt.
Yeah,
you were just
you Californians. I went out one morning along the boardwalk and it was 60 degrees. So I'm out, no shirt, shorts, no shoes, nothing. And someone was wearing a ski hat with the fuzzy thing on top. I was like, it's 60 degrees. What are you doing? I'm from New York. We have seasons here. So
what are those?
We have seasons.
My season starts at 60, like at at 65, it's like, we've now entered the Arctic tundra.
Yeah, people had like bubble goose down jackets in 60-degree weather. Oh, you know what else weirded me out about California? No one jaywalks. Everyone was following the light. Like I crossed the street once and the light said not to cross, and everyone was just looking at me like I was a savage.
That's because there's enough people who are texting, and like it's like I've done the jaywalking thing where you're like doing the Frogger all the way across, and you're like,
that's New York City all day. Yeah.
And like I look at people and they don't even see me. Like they don't even know I'm playing Frogger because they're on their phones. It's like yeah, so it's like and especially where we were in Venice, like it's super dangerous to jaywalk on that particular street just because like traffic is stupid, and it's just I've gotten hit by a car, so like I don't even mess around anymore. Yeah.
I mean to be fair, on my end though, it was like 5:45 Sunday morning. There's no cars out.
I guess. Yeah, I get. You know,
there was just me and the other actual homeless people. You know?
Did you make any homeless friends when you were down there? You were like, "Hey man, let me tell you about how I got my beard to look so dang good." Like,
no, I make homeless friends. Those guys are great. You know,
they got great stories.
I live in New York City, and sometimes I'm on the train, and I'm like, the homeless guys. You know, they're living it free. You know, you say wild and free, and I'm Manimal, but those guys sleep like the dead everywhere. I mean, they're on the train just like sleeping. We're all talking about having trouble sleeping. Those guys are sleeping on the platform just like nothing. You know, like, I'm tired, I'm going to sleep. So, I had a funny one. A girl in Manhattan thought I was homeless. Another homeless person.
Oh, my God.
So, I'm in Manhattan. So, I go barefoot everywhere, right?
Yeah.
So I'm in the city barefoot.
Oh my God.
And I usually don't carry cash. Who the hell carries cash? I just have my phone on me. And this homeless girl looks at me and she says, "Excuse me, can you spare some money?" I was like, you know, I'm sorry, but I don't have anything on me. And she looks at me. She looks at my shoes. She's like, "I'm sorry, I understand." She's like, "Are you all right?" You know, she's like,
she was trying to give me.
She was gonna start giving me money. She's like, "Do you need help? Do you need any money?" She's like, "I got some." You know, I was like, no,
she's like, okay. I got a croissant that somebody gave me earlier. It's half
like,
eaten.
You all right? You're looking a little skinny. I guess I was running, you know. I was looking sweaty.
Oh, shoot.
I was like, oh, man. I was like, this girl thinks I'm homeless. I was like, okay. I was like, I am free.
Could be very profitable. You know, like if you just happen to be standing and people just hand you cash, that'd be great.
Just hand me cash. Yeah.
They're like, "Here you go, sir. Here you go." And you're like, all right, well,
hey,
I guess
the universe does give me everything I need, so that could be a way.
I freaking
Although
love
I was walking around barefoot at like the most expensive hotel on the strip over there.
Oh my gosh, right? Oh.
The Lowe's, I was staying there, and anytime I told someone I was staying at the hotel, they were like, "Oh, you a baller?" I was like, "Am I?" I was like, "Well, then I guess I am a baller, barefoot baller."
Barefoot balling. It was such a cool weekend because the type of person that came, right? Like it was a pretty small, like Aubrey Marcus and On It have a huge following, but the environment that we were in, and you know, the headquarters is in Austin, and this was obviously. I
love that gym, by the way. Austin's
I've
great.
never been. I can't wait to go.
You never been to the On It gym?
No, I haven't been there yet.
Oh, it's really cool. It's really cool.
That's so awesome. But like having it away from the headquarters where it was in Southern California. So, you know, although there is like a Southern Californian following, and it was during during a holiday season. And I thought it was really cool because it brings so many different kinds of people and different there's a couple of themes, right, for On It, like whether it's human optimization or like looking into consciousness and that kind of thing, but or just like human transformation and really looking at those kind of things. But the kind of person who says, I'm going to invest in myself. I'm going to spend an entire weekend going deep and working with coaches that are the best at what they do and being around people who can help me elevate my own consciousness, my own game, my own self, right? Like it was super powerful to be around a small group of people and an intimate group of people who, although we had a lot of variety in the type of person, and there was a lot that was similar that we could come together on, and that we had these, I don't know about you, but I had really incredible discussions with different people.
I mean, that was the best part, really, were the people I met there. It's true. I had really deep discussions with a few people, and I got to do work there that I normally never do. So I'm also, okay, other than the fighting, so I'm a professional mixed martial arts fighter. That's the hard side. And then I have the spiritual side. I'm a master Reiki healer. I'm a Feldenkrais practitioner, so
Wow.
I do a lot of healing work also. And sometimes, depending on the way someone knows you, they only interact with you based on those elements that they know about you.
Oh, wow. You know what? As you say that, I feel like that's been coming up for me a little bit more too. I was at the float tank the other day, and one of the guys who works there, he was asking me like, "Oh, what are you like? I look like an athlete. I look like," and
Sure, you're tall. What'd you play?
Yeah, and so he interacts with me like I'm an athlete, and then he asks me like, "Oh, what do you do?" And I was like, "Oh, I'm an author, a speaker. I do X, Y, and Z." And he's like, "Wow, that's really cool." And then in like every time that I see him, we have these different discussions, and a lot of times it's consciousness and spirituality and different books and different things. And like there was a time last week where he said, "Wow, I had no idea that you were into this, or I wouldn't have pegged you for somebody who has interest in these areas, or who have had these, particular experiences that we were talking about." So I understand, like, if somebody doesn't know that about you, that it's just what the image that they see, or the image that they project on you and interact with you in that area.
They're like, "Oh, this is John the fighter." Right?
Yeah.
Or
John the Manimal.
This is John. Yeah. So that's definitely one common thing. Well, I think humans struggle with identity anyway. So our struggle for identity makes it almost a necessity for us to easily identify someone else.
Yeah.
We struggle with our own identity so much that we find ourselves like, okay, I don't even know who I am. Who's that guy? That's the fighter. All right, she's the volleyball player. Oh, that's the winning element. She's a coach.
Yeah.
Okay, what does that guy do? He's a lawyer. Look at even last names. If your last name is Smith, they're like, okay, that guy, he's a Smith. He makes stuff. He's a Smith. Right? We need to do it so easy. We're like, okay, I can't even figure myself out. Who the hell are you? What do you do? So I find that happens a lot. And going to the Aubrey Marcus weekend, I just let the universe tell me, what does it want me to do? And it didn't have me want to talk much about the physical training. Mm-hmm. So I met, I don't know if you met Alexis, but I felt her energy,
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, this might sound weird, but I feel like you need work on whatever. One thing physical. So sometimes I'll see a physical thing, like your neck bothering you, and sometimes a spiritual thing, like some energy being blocked. And we actually had we went on the beach, me, her, and I don't know if you met Mitch. He's a arena football player, pro football player. Australian guy, tall,
yeah, the Australian guy, like the guy.
He
was strapping. Yeah. He was like
strapping,
a strapping young man.
What a good-looking dude.
Yeah.
Yeah. Man, if I was built like that, I'd rule the world. I make the most of the least. You've seen how I'm built.
You make it work. You are in your category.
Yeah, I make the most of the least. I'm like a white dwarf star. Really small but incredibly dense and powerful.
I love it.
So we go on the beach, and I did like some energy work on Alexis at sunset right on the beach over there, which is beautiful. Was it Santa Monica Boulevard?
Yeah. Or yeah.
Santa Monica Pier,
right by the pier. Yeah.
So the setting itself was incredible, and then we wound up developing a really strong connection over the energy work I did, and wound up helping her with a few things energetically, let some things clear up and flow. And then Mitch, he had a shoulder issue. I worked on that. He's like, mate, I don't know what you did there.
Mate.
And I was like, I've been doing that for 15 years, so there should be something there. But it's stuff I normally never do, in a regular fight gym. And even there was a time I did. So one of my guys hurts his neck, and I'm like, let me do some stuff here, I'm going to use the force on you and just chill. And, tough fighter dude, he just looks at me and he's like, yo, Manimal, I felt some shit. What'd you do? Like, he can't articulate. He can't articulate what he felt. But he was like, something happened there. And his neck felt a little better, But of course, listen, you fix something, you still can mess it up. And we're at a tournament once, and a guy pops his knee out. And I use the force, and I'm working on it. And it felt a little better. And I was like, how's your knee? He was like, oh, you know what? It was nothing. I was like, well, did it help that I worked on it? He's like, what are you talking about? I was like, oh, you glossed over what I did. That's okay. I was like, that's fine. I was like, doesn't bother me that you don't. Sometimes when you do that kind of work, it looks like magic, even though it's a practice technique. And I'm also doing some active release techniques and arrows. I'm doing energy work. It's a mix of skills in a quick period of time. And I was like, they totally glossed over it. I was like, that's okay. Because they don't see me that way. They see me as the breaker,
Yeah.
So it's hard for them to even realize what I did was helpful when they see me so much a certain way. And then when I went to the Aubrey Marcus weekend, no one knows me, which is incredible because then they can form an opinion based on just what they see at that time. And even Alexis came and visited me in New York, actually. And I did some energy work. And she's like, what's funny? She's like, you're a profession. So she follows me on Instagram. She's like, your profession is all about health and fitness. She's like, and we didn't talk about diet or training or anything. I was like, well, I talk about that all the time. I was just seeing what was available for me to express myself. And it was nothing related to training, really, which I found interesting,
Wow. That's really powerful. I like that. I know during that weekend was kind of interesting because it was the weekend that we had the fires. We had this intense fire that was just a couple of miles, and by a couple I mean like 10 to 20 miles away, where we had a huge wildfire. There was houses, there was evacuations, and a lot of people that were actually staying at that hotel, their house burned down. I had conversations with people that, they had their dogs, they had their family, they had everything that they had. And, they came in and they said, we lost our house. And, some,
what was interesting, actually? Who's the one that wrote Sex at Dawn? Chris
Ryan.
Chris Ryan.
Yeah.
He was like, oh, I hope my house burns down so I could, move on.
Yeah, he's like, that frees that up. I guess I don't have to make, because I think he didn't have to make a decision. And that's an interesting
way to think of things too. Sometimes you don't want to have to make the decision. And I like this also, let the universe make the decision. He's like, okay, I really don't want to stay in this house. If my house burns down, then I know. Time to move on. Well, he's like, he might want to move on anyway. But most people dread that, right? They dread that loss. And they fear change. And I just liked the way he was so welcoming of it. Because I've had very transformative experiences like that as well.
Well, if my house burns down, then I guess that's what it is. And I don't have to make a decision if I want to do the lease again because it's not there. And it's something that
maybe I want to travel. Maybe I want to travel. Maybe,
right?
The things you own you. Yeah. So he might have felt constriction there. And he's like, I hope that thing burns down. Free me up. I'll live out of the car.
Oh,
which
right.
he seems to like.
Which I was about to say, which I think he does a lot of the time anyway. And I feel like in my life when the universe, God, whatever people want to call it, whatever people are comfortable, because, people, we use these words, these clumsy words and way of speaking to describe things. We use these clumsy little words, and every word, every sound that we make means different things to different people. So my version of God or my understanding of God or my understanding of universe or my understanding of these different words that are so clumsy and just not capable of transmitting the full idea. So for me, God, universe continues to set me up for success, right? And continues to put things in front of me and says, hey, Deanna, here's a decision you need to make, right? And I have the opportunity to make decisions, or I have the opportunity to choose, right? So it's like I go in there and I'm like, oh, I can do it or not do it. And it always seems that, not necessarily if I make a wrong decision, but if something is in the works, if something is gonna happen, that regardless of my decision, things end up working out the way that they're supposed to. It's all for my highest good. And even if it's uncomfortable, even if it sucks, even if it seems like an awful experience to go through, I know that whether I make a decision, whether I don't make a decision, that everything is illuminating these lessons and for my highest good. 100%. So when you can relax into that, when you can relax into it and be like, okay, well, everything is going to be great no matter what. It's, it's just like how attached we are to
having
the
really
feelings
difficult, having really difficult transformative experiences has done that to me. That now I'm pretty easy with it. So yeah, I told you I used to own a gym in New York City, and anyone that has a business in New York City will instantly understand when I tell them that New York City is brutal to have a business in. So it's the most expensive place, maybe one of the most expensive places.
California. Just kidding.
California's expensive too, yeah. And 3 bad months in New York can cost you like if you have 3 bad months of your and go watch like go listen to like Bar Rescue.
That's what I was thinking. Get out of my head. I was like, you mean Bar Rescue?
Yeah, you have 3 bad months in New York, you lost $250,000.
Sheesh.
That's it. Hold on. The rent on my gym was $40 a square foot. So that means for a 3,000 square foot spot, I was paying $12,000 a month rent. That's just to open the door. Right?
Okay.
So there becomes very little room for error.
Yeah.
So I had like a 250, sometimes up to 300 member gym, right? Packed, popping. Everyone was like, man, John's killing it. And I was killing it for like 4 good years. And then I had like 8 bad months. And I lost $250,000, wound up having to go bankrupt. I mean, I lost all my equipment, everything I had built up over the 4 years. The universe just kicked my ass. And I was like, wow, that hurt. I was like, all right. I was like, that was an interesting roller coaster ride there. That was a lot to learn about my ego and things I could have done right or wrong in a perfect storm of events that you wind up being unprepared for. And that loss made me think of it, but it set me up. That loss set me up now to be doing things that are like so much fun. Like I would have never fought professionally again if I didn't close my gym.
Wow.
So having the gym was like 80 hours a week of work, and I let myself go. And it seems like, oh, you own a gym, you should be taking care of yourself, but you wind up taking care of everyone else. So not having that, I'm in like better shape now than ever. Well, I'd like to think I am, but if not then ever, then pretty close to it. At least appreciating the shape I'm in more.
Yeah.
Like when I was in my 20s, you kind of take that for granted. You run your body reckless. Now I take my time, I recover. Yesterday I slept all day. I just, right? You tell me you did. I slept all day yesterday. So I'm more mindful. I appreciate the process more now. I take my time. I enjoy every piece of it. So having like 2 different fighting careers because of that gap is really interesting. It's like I have 2 different lifetimes where I could experience it. Because in your early 20s, you're an athlete. You kind of rush through it all. And now I could take my time, make sure I smile. I tell myself in the cage, I'm like, would you make sure you smile? Crack a smile. I was like, aren't you happy to be here? I lust for combat. If you say you love to fight, crack a smile then. So I make sure I always get a smile in there, and I make sure I take my time coming out to the cage. I'm like, don't rush. Step by step. I'm like, put your arms up, play to the crowd a little bit. You could I could take my time. I'm like,
that.
take your time on the scale. There's so much time, actually. People think there's no time. And if you just take a couple deep breaths and look around, there's a lot of time.
Yeah.
Even I was thinking about it. Okay, so in the cage, I don't know if you ever watch a fight.
Yeah.
There's a lot of time in the cage with your opponent before you actually fight.
Yeah, and it looks excruciating. It's like this. It's like all of this adrenaline is just vibrating between the 2 people and like in the entire place, right? So it's like inside, it's like inside just like, we'll even go smaller, right? So it's like inside yourself and you're like, oh, and then
And then between
the two people and between the official, I don't know what they're called.
The ref.
The ref. Okay, the ref.
Yeah.
You know, so it's like the energy
he's like,
is.
Are you ready? Are you ready?
Yeah, and it's
but
like
there's
the
actually
vibrating,
a lot of time there.
and then
You're in
you
that
go
cage for like 3 minutes.
Like that is the long. I would imagine that is one of the longest 3 minutes of anybody's life. Like,
so when I was a kid, I would rush through that. I would just be like, all right, come on, I'm so ready. And now I'm like, oh, take a few deep breaths. I was like, walk around. I was like, see if you spot your wife out in the crowd. I'm like, let's take a look. I'm like, I got 3 minutes now. You know, I'm like, tell my cornermen I love them. You guys are awesome. You fucking rock. You know, I'm like, you guys rock. Like, you guys, I love you guys. I'm like, I got 3 minutes. 3 minutes is a long time. You know, if you're mindful of the 3 minutes. If you're just there, like, intense, you're just...
Can you do that intense face again for me?
When you're just intense, you know...
For people who are listening to this, you'll have to go on YouTube and actually watch the interaction between us, because there's a lot of energy, there's a lot of fun, but your intense facial expression is fantastic.
I do smile a lot in the fight, though. I am, you know what's funny? When I was younger fighting, I wasn't as happy to be in there. I kind of missed the point.
Really?
You know, the joy of combat, the pure joy. I know for most people, they're like, what do you mean the joy of combat? But I'm going to tell you why. Above all other sports, combat is the most enjoyable. It's the only place, one of the only places you can both give and receive 100%. 100%. No holding back. I'm gonna hit you as hard as I can and look to do you physical harm. And I expect you to do the same as hard as you can. And I don't want you to, of course. Right? And we're going to vie then at 100% of our abilities, because no one wants to get their ass kicked. You could go out and half-ass a volleyball game. Maybe I didn't feel great that day. I played like shit. I just didn't have it. All right, someone's punching you in the face. Guess what? Your 50% becomes 1,000%.
Yeah.
Like, even, you know what? Like, even if you get your ass kicked bad, you still tried 100% back. Like, it wasn't effective. You're 100% that day.
Well, it's hard to not,
ass.
like, right? Like, that's this is.
It's how do you not? The guy's like trying to kill you.
Well, the repercussions, right? Like, the repercussions are so great. Like, you have.
So even let's say you're 100%. Let's say I go 100% and it's a feeble attempt. I still know I tried 100%. Like, you know, it's like so definitive. Like, think about it. You might lose a tennis match and be like, yeah, but I would have kicked that guy's ass. And when you get your ass kicked, you're like, well, that's how that went down. You know, it's like, well, that's how that went. I guess I didn't kick that guy's ass.
Well, there's like physical repercussions. There's physical repercussions. Like, this is it. Like, this is not a, oh, let's hit a volleyball around. The ball's dead. Okay. Like, it's a different mentality. And I think it's also, you know, you've entered the ring with an agreement to go as hard as you can to physically injure and potentially kill. Well, not really, but potentially kill somebody.
Potentially.
You go into the ring knowing.
That's why we have a ref, to make sure we don't.
Right.
That's why the ref's there. He's there to make sure no one dies, right?
Yeah.
And it's actually a very safe sport as far as that goes. But, I mean, injury-wise, I broke my elbow in my last fight and didn't even realize till I was in the hospital getting stitched up. Oh, you don't feel pain the same in the cage.
Oh, yeah.
So in the cage, pain registers like you're a video game character. So, like, you get hit, and it's like, like you feel like you have an energy bar, but you don't actually feel the pain the same.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you know, and most athletes can,
because you're fighting for your life. Like, because I'm trying not to die, and you're like, sorry, body, you're not allowed to feel like you're gonna die, because you're gonna die if you feel like you're gonna die, and that's not acceptable, because we need to live here. Like, we need to live.
Just because you broke your elbow doesn't mean you shouldn't throw that punch.
Yeah, just because you broke your elbow, you could still die. So I need you to elbow him in the face, because that's like.
Which I did.
No way.
So okay. I don't know when I broke it, but my wife and my manager were like, my opponent throws a kick, heavy kick, to the body. I block it with my elbow, right on my body. And on tape, you hear it. It's like,
no way.
Right? Now, I don't hear it. I hear my feet at that moment. I hear my feet shift on the canvas. So I'm having a sensory experience, highly psychedelic in that cage. And I hear my feet on the canvas. That's what I hear. I don't hear the elbow. Then I picked up the timing of that kick. So he threw the kick once. Boom, breaks my elbow. I don't know it, though. But I pick up the timing then. He throws it again. I catch it, take him down. Now I'm on top of him. Now I'm on top. I elbow him in the face with the elbow that I broke, but I don't even know it's broken. So I'm elbowing him, punching him. And now I hadn't fought. So this is my first fight in 10 years in Bellator. So 10,000 people. The crowd's nuts. I'm on top, and I'm a ground specialist. I'm like, and this is where I fucked up, Deanna. I'm going to tell you. I started thinking to myself, man, 10 years off, ring rust. You're pretty effing good.
No way. Like you had that moment of like, you're like, all right, man. Okay.
I was like, I'm so good. And I'm thinking this to myself. And then I get reversed. Then I'm like, okay, maybe I'm not that good. Then we start scrambling. We get up and I crack him with a good right. I pick up the single leg. Now we're going at it. Now we're back and forth. And I wind up zigging when I should have zagged. I get a cut over my left eye. Now I'm bleeding into my left eye. Can't see a thing. Getting hit. And, if you can't see, that's about it. So I wound up having a pretty good back and forth fight, with some 25-year-old kid.
Oh my God.
And like I said, I'm going to be 38. So that was fun. Gave a good fight in there. And competitive enough. Then February 15th. So pretty exciting.
Oh my God.
But the fight, is so psychedelic. It's so crazy. And I try to tell, and that's what I appreciate too. I can hear everything that's going on. I remember he liked to do this particular move when he has you against the cage. So once I couldn't see, I was like, okay, I'm going to back up to the cage. Now, how crazy is this? That in the middle of combat, I'm thinking all this stuff.
Yeah.
So I was like, okay, I'm going to back up to the cage and bait him to do this move he likes. Because I've been working the defense against this. But I can watch his fights.
My.
And I bait him, and he goes to take the bait, and then he sensed it. And he backed up.
No.
I was like, so it's so funny, all the stuff that's going on in the cage. Like, think about how much is going on in there. I'm trying to bait him. He's trying to counter me. And whatever. I wound up losing the fight. I have to go to the hospital and get stitched up. So we're in the hospital. I'm getting stitched up, and the doctor's like, does anything else bother you? I was like, you know what? Now that you say it, my elbow. And we both look at my elbow, and it was the size of a softball. It was massive.
Like
massive. I was like, I didn't even notice that happened. I was like, well then. I was like, that sucks.
Like, well, there goes the elbow. Like,
I was like, I didn't even notice that. Oh well.
That's
but it healed up pretty quick.
insane.
It healed up in like 6 weeks. So it wasn't too bad.
So for you, I want to back up because I want to hear the rest of your story because I've heard like little pieces here and there, but to get like a full flow, like, where did you start? I know that you're in the
start at the beginning.
You're MMA world. You're in the MMA world. The MMA world.
Let's start before that. Hold on. I told you I make the most of the least.
Yes.
So I started with the very least, or the very most, depending how you want to look at being fat, as an athlete. So before I started training,
with the most.
the most. I was the most. So I was like the fattest kid growing up forever. And I was 265 pounds. And I'm 5'5".
Yeah.
So I'm pretty short. So I was 265 up until maybe my second year of college. So when I was about 19, 20, I would like to, you told me keep it PG. So I can't exactly tell what made me decide to lose weight story. Let's suffice it to say that some videos of myself made me decide to lose weight.
Gotcha. Well, that can be a very powerful motivator when
seeing
when
myself
it's in the mating realm, that can be.
So seeing that just made me think, man, I'm fat. I gotta do something about my life over here. I'm like a pig. like a hog.
Were you doing anything athletic at that time, or were you into fighting, or
No,
were you into anything
no,
athletic, or were you just like living the
I enjoyed
life?
fighting as a sport, but I wasn't doing anything. I was just, I was in college, and I was just eating like 12,000 calories a day and enjoying every calorie. Probably smoking a lot of weed and enjoying all those calories. So,
You were making the most. You were making the most.
I was making the most of every calorie. Yeah. So, my family used to own a hardware store, and I think I had maybe just started working out, and I had a kid working for me that did martial arts, and he was like 16, and I think I was 19. Maybe I was just about to be 20. I was 19, like right about there. And he was like skinny. He was like 140 pounds. And he was saying something about fighting. And I was like, and he said he would kick my ass. And I was huge, right? I'm like 230. I was like, I'll kick your ass right now. He was like, no, come to my gym. He was like, and train, and we'll fight there. We'll put gloves on and shit. I was like, oh, okay. That sounds cool. I was like, what do I tell them? And he's like, tell them you want to spar. I was like, okay. But he set me up. So he set me up to get my ass kicked. So I go up, and mind you, I never really worked out. And this is an old school, like
Rocky
kung
gym.
kung fu gym, yeah, old school, no, just wood floors. And the instructor is this old school fighter. I was like, oh, I'm friends with Felipe. He said to come and train. He said, to tell you I want to spar. He's like, you want to spar? He's like, where do you train? I was like, nowhere. He's like, you ever been, do you fight? I was like, just in the street. I'm from Brooklyn. So, Deanna, I'm from Brooklyn. I got into plenty of fights just growing up in my neighborhood. It's just part of the culture, being scrappy and being from Brooklyn. So he's like, all right. First half hour, jump rope. And I never jumped rope in my life. I fall over the jump rope. I get it tangled up. I'm like there guillotining myself with this jump rope around my wrists. I'm embarrassed as hell. I'm fat, tripping over this jump rope. All right, jump rope. Then we do some conditioning, sit-ups, squats, burpees. All right, I already threw up once at this point. Then is a 2.5-hour class. First hour conditioning. Then they're like, now we hit pads, so we're kickboxing in pads. Then they're like, okay, now we spar. And they make me spar. One of the other instructors, this guy Nardu, and tall, long legs, kicks me, sidekick, across the whole gym. I just slide on the floor, boom. Now I got a black eye, kicking me across the whole gym. I was like a punching bag over there. And they're like, okay, after an hour of that, they're like, now we grapple. I was like, oh, there's more. Wait, there's more. Now we do jiu-jitsu. And I go with Felipe, and he catches me in an arm bar. Boom. And I'm like, oh, crap.
Was it a good night? Was it a good night arm bar, too? Like, bye.
No. We go again. So we roll again. And I catch him in a choke. And he taps, and the instructor's like, where'd you learn that? I was like, I don't know. I watch a lot of UFC. And, so afterwards, I'm all banged up. And he's like, what do you want to do? And I was like, I don't know. I kind of think maybe I should, I was like, I got my ass kicked. I was like, which makes me think I should, try to be a pro. Maybe I should be a pro fighter. And he was like, you suck, dude. What are you talking about? You're good for like 30 seconds. I was like, I'm good for 30 seconds right now. I was like, but if I do it for a few years, I'll get better. It can't suck any worse. He was like, all right, whatever. He's like, we have classes these days, show up. And I got my ass kicked for months. And then, slowly I lost weight. It took me like 14 months just to lose 100 pounds. So
That's
that was
still
like
really good. That's still like, and that seems healthy, like a healthy lose rate.
It was quick healthy. Yeah. It was, and probably not quite 100. I probably lost 90 pounds in 14 months and got down to like 175. And I competed there for a little bit. And then actually my next fight will be at my lightest ever, 145. I've never done 145 before. So that'll represent 120 pounds off from my heaviest when I make 145.
Wow.
So, but I still got 28 pounds to go.
So I think that's an interesting transition to kind of bring in some of like the human optimization and function, right? So for you, other than just straight up training, are there any strategies that you're really bringing into this, whether it's nutrition based or whether it's recovery, but what are you really bringing in to help you get to that place where you are optimized and ready to go for that fight?
Let me tell you, it takes a lot to make it to the cage, and I'm no young kid. What a kid would just brush off, I don't brush off. So I'm actually doing a few things. First of all, just minding the volume of my training.
Okay.
Becomes paramount, and the intensity during each session. So I can only produce, let's say, my max intensity 2 to 3 times a week. And I got to pick the session that's going to be. So normally that would wind up being my sparring days or my heavy, hard cage wrestling days. Doing wrestling against the MMA cage is sometimes more tiring than any other endeavor. You got to get back up off the cage. It's abrasive. We switch partners every few minutes, fresh guys. So that winds up being very exhausting. Sparring also, because a lot of impact, punching each other in the face. We're trying to mimic the fight as safely as we can, but still in almost 80-90% of fight speed.
Yeah.
So those would be my hard days. Now the rest has to be monitored, moderate, easy. I'll wear a turbo strap, which is a heart rate monitor. I'll do that for my regular workouts to see where my heart rate's at. I like to get my heart rate first thing in the morning too, see how I'm recovering. Like I know personally I should wake up at 60 or less beats per minute.
Yeah. Do you do HRV? Athlete, right? Do you calculate HRV too?
Sometimes it's just difficult to do in sparring, right? It's going to be
No, I mean HRV when you first wake up, just for nervous system.
Yeah, I put the heart rate monitor on right away. Yeah, and the turbo strap does a graph for heart rate variability. So I throw that on in the morning, it reads right away, and then I can tell. And it actually says my recovery level. So if it's like recovery level 80%, that's a light day. That's it.
Yeah.
There's not going to be much benefit to sharpening the skills when you're tired. I don't try to sharpen the rusty blade. I take the rust off at first, then try to sharpen the blade. So I'm monitoring pretty much every training session. I do my heart rate. I leave the heart rate monitor on sometimes during training also, but it's hard to do when you're doing your fight training because of the contact.
Yeah, absolutely.
So that I do a lot of contrast bathing. Mm-hmm. Cold, hot, cold. I'll go jump in the ocean by me. It's cold as, it's 38 degrees, about 36 degrees. I'll jump in that for 3 minutes, and I'll come home, take a hot bath, and finish with a cool shower. So that winds up being great for my recovery. My nutrition, pretty on point, except for Christmas, But I definitely allowed for that. It's easy to eat one day bad if you monitor all your other days. Most people take one bad day to take the whole week off.
Well, it's the whole week. I mean, I ate bad one day, and then I ate bad another day, and then, I can't start till a Monday, and it just ends up
it's like
continuing. And one day is 2 weeks,
which happens for most people. So I'm pretty good at letting one day be one day.
That's cool.
Even just mentally, one bad day of training is just one day of training. Just the way you take things sometimes is the biggest, if you want to call it a hack. Just the way you respond to the input. Supplement wise, I like to take the Honest Room Tech.
Yes.
Those work out well for me. I'm a fan of mushrooms in all their varieties. So that works out well. I actually have another company that's been sponsoring me that's pretty good, New Life Science. They make Astrogen, Actogen, and Innoslim. There are 3 different supplements based off astragalus. It's a Chinese herb, but they're chemists that extract different parts of the plant. So that's been interesting. One's like a pre-workout, one's to help digestion, and one's for helping you absorb amino acids better. So that's their recovery one.
Beautiful.
Those have been interesting. I've been using those for a little bit. I found good results with them. I don't do a ton of supplements. So if I find something I like, definitely a plus. So between the Honest Room Tech, I take those 4 before a training session. That's been good. Actually, you know what I made this morning too that actually was helpful? Do you follow Eric Godsey? He was one of
Yeah.
our. I did that pyramid he
I
does.
really connected with him, and I love that pyramid. My pyramid is it's on the other
Hold on, I'm gonna
side.
take you in my studio and show you it.
I'm
It's
excited.
actually.
I might like get mine too because we can compare pyramids, and then we'll send this to Eric.
Can you see it?
Oh, that one was yours. I think I saw him post about it, didn't he?
Yeah, I think so.
Nice.
So, and then I put a couple things around it, just to remind me. I know it sounds corny, but
Yeah.
what I put, the hungry wolf is bound to wage a hard battle. So, kind of like, when you're backed into a corner, you go harder. Plus, I'm going to be actually hungry at 145.
Yeah.
So I'm telling myself, like, you're going to be hungry. It's going to be tough to make the weight. Because our sport is 2 sports, weight cutting and fighting. So I compete in 2 sports, the sauna championships, the hot bath championships, and then fighting, So, and then I put right here, I train, eat, prepare, and recover like a champion. I'm doing everything right to ensure victory. So what can I have control of? That's it. How I train, how I eat, my preparation, my recovery.
That's fantastic.
The night of the fight, I let the gods decide. I'm going to do the best work I can, of course. That's the plan. I want to be victorious above all of the things. That's without saying. But you also have to understand that, like I say, I'm a servant of the universe. I mean, of course, I would like if the universe's plan is to put me there as the spoiler for this guy that I'm fighting who's undefeated, to teach him, what it's like to come back from defeat once I hand it to him.
Yeah.
I'll do him a favor. But I don't know if that's the way it's actually going to be. That's how I imagine it. That's what I see, But I'm no fortune teller, What is it? I don't have a crystal ball. I only have 2 balls. So that's all I could use in there. I can't tell you exactly how it's going to go.
Oh.
Of course I want to win.
What's on your?
It goes without saying.
So that pyramid, I want to talk about that pyramid because I think that's pretty cool, and it's something I'll link to in the show
I like it.
notes.
It keeps everything kind of in a nice.
Well, it's like a
spot for me.
structure, like it's a framework, it's a structure, and like to kind of give the listeners, if you see this,
And it came
the
out nice.
video-
I bought the nice glass whiteboard to put it on.
Oh man,
it gives it a good structure.
Treat yourself with some
Treat
goals.
yourself. Why not? And then my daily. It's funny. I was talking to someone about it, and they're like, "You do a lot of stuff in a day." Like my daily habits. I take care of myself. So it's trainings first, right? Movement. Every morning when I wake up, they call me the Manimal, right? For a lot of reasons. So I take my lesson from nature first. What does nature do? An animal wakes up. I look at my cats. I look at my dog when she was alive. They take a little time and stretch. They take like 2-3 minutes. Not long. They do a little this, a little that, a little move. And I do that every morning. I might foam roll if I feel like my back is tight. I might do a little more if I feel like I need it. I put quality nutrition. I know what that means. Someone who might not be training as long as me, they might need to say, something more about the nutrition. Read and write. Make sure I read and write every day. Every time I get punched in the head, read a book. Balance out those brain cells. Promote and content, I'm pretty good, but I have to be mindful that, I got to make sure I'm writing an epic story here. A guy fighting at my age, is a pretty epic story to me. If I could inspire one person, to think they could come back from something. I mean, listen, I had my shoulder almost replaced. I had it reconstructed twice. 4 anchors put in, the bone reattached, the bicep insertion reattached, the labrum, the rotator cuff, twice. Most people don't come back from that. They don't even do anything, and I'm fighting in the cage again as a professional. So I'm impressed about it, my own story, even if it wasn't mine. So if I could help someone to feel like they could accomplish something, why not? Recovery, so I put that in my pyramid too. Every day has to have recovery. There can't be a day without recovery. Doesn't make sense, especially not
at the volume.
With what I'm doing.
Not at the volume, or just
not with
humans in general. Sorry, but if we
not with the work I'm doing,
if we want to take any benefit from the things that we're putting forth effort towards, like you have to be able to recover from it so that you can really make those adaptations and those changes and allow the body and the mind to really just take that in.
I got to put a quote up. Actually, I was thinking of something my own quote, when was the last time you showed up at 100%? Most people don't show up at 100% ever. They're always showing up at 50%. And a lot of people's 50% is actually really good, which is, impressive. But most people aren't recovering. They're showing up every day at 50, 60%.
Yeah.
I want to show up at 100% as often as I can. Breath work's really important. I got that in my dailies.
Yeah.
So breathing's really important. I mean, anyone can take a few deep breaths when you're sitting in a dark room meditating, but you got to be able to take a few deep breaths when you're getting punched in the face in my line of work, which is difficult, right? That's when you're going to want to be, gasping. And that's the worst time because you're going to get so tired so quick. Mindset, for my mindset, I'm always just thinking about how do I take every situation, whatever happens, how do I make the most of the worst? I'm trying to make the best of the worst, the most of the least. So any situation, there could be bad stuff happening in training camp. How do I make the best of that situation? All right. So part of my mindset and visualization, I'm always visualizing, which sometimes I wonder about visualization because I've done a lot of visualization work and I visualized the fight thousands of times and then still had a fight that didn't go any way that I visualized it. Because it's so crazy.
Well, I feel like there's so many different inputs to that, right? But had some of the things that happened in the visualizations in the way that you visualized, I think your mind and your body would have been in a better place. Or the fact that it's like you're going through these different cycles. Like you've already fought the fight 100 times, 1,000 times, however many times that you've been through it. So it's like when you get into it, your nervous system is able to relax a little bit more, considering that, you're in a situation where you're going to die or you could die.
Well, it's funny. You're scared to death until the point where you should be the most scared, you stop being scared. When they lock the cage door, when they slide the bolt, you hear it.
What's that like? Clink. What does that feel like in your body or in your mind? What does that feel like? Because I feel like that's like a part of it, right? So we were talking about like the vibrating of the energy, and you're like, you got 3 minutes of craziness, and you're I love you, man, I got you, dad. You're getting ready, and like it's like the last thing, like the cherry on top. It's like your fate is being sealed with the locking of the cage.
Because that's the last thing. Because what happens is the announcer's in the cage announcing you.
Okay.
Right. So the announcer's in the cage, but the announcer can't stay in the cage for the fight. So after the announcer announces you, then he leaves and the cage door shuts, clink, and then you feel relaxed.
Can you even hear it too? Is it a really
loud,
audible sound? Like
loud.
It's like clunk clunk.
Clink.
It's like
it's
clink.
Because your auditory senses are heightened beyond measure at this point already.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm hearing someone in the fifth row order a beer. I hear you're hearing all kinds of stuff. It's a very psychedelic experience, especially if you're mindful enough to pay attention to it, which when you're young, you can't. You're just so hyped. You're like, I got to kill this guy.
Do you feel like that's improved over time for you? And is that something that you've worked at, or just something that you've gained more of an appreciation given your trajectory as you're getting to know yourself more and just really like settling into, and I'm sure like some of the healing work is also a part of that, but do you feel like it's been on an upward trajectory for you in terms of how you've been able to perceive and be more present in these moments?
I think I'm just able to deal with life a little better. At this stage of the game, I'm just able to deal with life a little better. So I'm like, okay, well, worst case scenario, I die. I was like, well, that's not that bad.
Yeah.
Because first of all, death is a transitional period that I'm fine with personally. I was like, and second, it's $500,000 life insurance if I die. So my wife will be all right. I was like, I'm sure she'll be lonely, but she'll be good to go. So I'm like, okay, that's the worst. So the worst ain't that bad. I'm like, okay, what else? I could get hurt. I was like, all right, but I've been hurt before. I'm like, okay, I'm not going to lose $250,000 like I did at my gym. So money's not an issue. I'm like, all right. I'm like, my family's still going to love me. I'm like, so let's go have fun. Let's smile and show them that you love to fight. because combat is a transformational experience. I told you, it's the only place you could go 100%. I could go 100%. You can go 100%. I'm not going to hold back. You're not going to hold back. And we're going to try to do everything we've learned over the 2 decades of our training to experience combatants and use all the skills and abilities that we've accumulated in our martial arts journey against each other. And only one person can be victorious. And it's so exciting.
That's pretty epic.
Nothing puts life into focus like that. So when people are like, oh, why do you fight? I don't need to fight. I desire to fight. That's why I'm not fighting every day either. I'm like, it takes some time for me to get there. It takes some prep. I love the prep too. The training camp is very hard, harder than the fight. The fight is only at most 15 minutes. Right?
Like
at most.
Sweat more. It's like, what's the quote? I think it's sweat more in training, bleed less in battle or something like that, right? Where it's like you want your training to be similar,
and it's always going to be
harder, right? Like that's why for volleyball, that's why we have preseason. That's why we train harder than the actual competition. That's why we put ourselves in those positions so that we've already gotten to the place where everything other than this thing, not necessarily a cakewalk, but it's almost like playing a video game, right? You've like
it's like playing a video game.
Yeah, you're strapping on your utility belt, and you're like, here's all my things in the utility belt, and I'm gonna learn how to do this, and I'm gonna put myself in the best possible position to do these things, and I'm gaining all these skills, and then now it's time to test everything, and then you get to use all the skills, and you get to experience at the level that you are, whatever that may be.
Whatever it is, and there's no bullshit. It's like, oh, I could. It's like, no, this is the way it happened. The fight is a snapshot of, that's the way it went down. Maybe I almost wish that we didn't get hurt in a fight, that we could do it like 10 times, run 10 fights with the guy and see how it comes out. But you can't. You only got one snapshot in time, which makes it even more special. You only got that one chance because you can't get a rematch for a long time because you could be banged up even from a victory. I might kick your ass and be out for 6 months. I'll break my hand. What if I break my hand on your face? It's going to be 3 months out at least.
Is that pretty normal?
Easy.
Where
easy.
I would imagine that, okay, if we're stepping into the ring or to the octagon or wherever it is, right? We're stepping onto what is the official term? I don't want to.
Well, cage.
So we're getting into the cage,
the
right?
octagon is trademarked by UFC.
Oh,
Don't
okay.
get me sued.
Well, I would never.
Cage.
We're getting into the cage. We're getting into the cage. We've agreed that we're going 100% and we're going to try to kill each other. And we only get one shot, one opportunity.
For at least a year or two, yeah.
And then we have to recover from that. So you're training so that you could be at the best you possibly can be, so that you're peaking not only mentally but physically. You're ready. Mm-hmm. It's a snapshot in time. And then after all is said and done, you have physical scars and I'm sure mental scars too, right? From the experience. Well, for some people, I don't know, depending on where they're at.
Yeah.
But being able to recover from that, is it normal to expect a fighter to, in almost all situations, unless I guess it was a quick knockout or a quick thing where it was like, they didn't even touch me and I threw a kick to the head.
You still have to recover.
Sorry.
You still have to recover from your training camp.
Oh, yeah.
I tell all the kids will, let's say you pull off a quick victory. They desire to fight immediately.
Yeah, because they're high on the victory. It's time to go, and they're ready. They're ready.
But what they don't take into account, first of all, the East Coast circuit is the deepest.
Really?
It's just the way it is.
So for Bellator, right?
For any MMA.
Or any
for
MMA.
The New York, New Jersey circuit is deep. So there's no easy fights there. So you're in a deep circuit.
Yeah.
So every fight can be almost a UFC undercard caliber, just by accident, just with some random dude from the gym. Because New Yorkers are type A, right? If the guy is dedicated to fighting, it means he's made some sacrifices because it's mad expensive to live here. I'm telling you, it's just the way the guy's built when you're in this. So the kid will wind up not having enough energy to produce in the cage. He's overtrained from his last camp. You need to take a couple weeks off just to recover from camp.
Wow.
The camp is hard. Yeah, camp's tough. So so for me, it doesn't really matter because I don't need to fight that frequently. Most of my job is as a coach, and I run a training camp that's a lot of fun. Manimal training camp.
That's
Everyone loves those videos. I get
love
those
them.
kids.
They're my favorite.
I get the kids hype. It's funny. So everyone I train with, all those kids are literally kids, like 22, 23.
Oh yeah, Manimal training camp.
Manimal training camp. So when I come into the gym, they're like, "Oh yeah, Manimal training camp." I was like, "Yeah, guys, you know it." And they're like, every time I see your video, they're like, I start doing push-ups, and I was like, "Oh man, that's pretty epic." I was like, they were like, "You just get us so hype." I was like, I'm just hyped. I'm happy to be training. I'm really trying to hype myself up. It's hard to get through. I was sparring with this one kid we have, Marab, and he's like 26, 27. He's a UFC fighter, really good, and he's endless energy. And we spar around, and the second round, he gives me like a war cry. He's like, "Ha!" And I'm like, "All right, ha!" I give it back, and I was like, "What is that?" He's like, "It's hard." I was like, "Who you telling hard?" I was like, "It's like I'm old enough to be your father. You're telling me it's hard?" I was like, "Who you telling it's hard?" I was like, "Believe me, however hard you think it is for you, it's 10 times harder for me right here."
Oh my gosh.
I'm like, "Let me see what you look like at 38, bro." I was like, "Let's see." I was like, "'Cause you're already looking rugged as it comes." But yeah, taking care of myself, it's tough. It is hard. There's days where it's just like, how am I just mobile, So
you get this contract, right? So I saw, and you've alluded to it a little bit, and it was like lobbed over, but I didn't take the lob, but I'm gonna take the lob right now. So you just signed this contract with Bellator. Are you the oldest in Bellator for a fighter?
No. They have, because heavyweights can fight older. Okay.
But I guess like in your weight class, right? And especially because you're going to be...
In my weight class, I'm the oldest, yeah.
In a weight class.
In my weight class.
In a weight class that you've never
145,
been at.
Yeah. I love going where I've never been before. It's really exciting. That's what makes the story compelling for me to do. Because I'll get a few stories out of it. Just making 145. I've never done it before. All right. Can we do the thing we've never done before? Well, I want to see. I got to know. All right, now can I perform optimally at 145? I believe I
that's
can.
what I was curious
Let's
about
see.
and what I'm going to be excited to see and hear after. And we'll have to do another podcast after and go through, because I think that a lot of people who are listening to this are going to be excited and pretty invested in your journey and this.
February 15th, Bellator. It'll be on the Zone app, DAZN.
I'm going to have to get it so that I can watch it. or I'll have a viewing party with my brother. That way we can check it out.
Hell yeah! You're gonna have to buy a t-shirt.
Yeah, done.
So.
Absolutely.
Gotta get some new t-shirts.
I have
made.
your gold edition.
I need to throw a Winning Elements logo on.
Yeah, for sure.
You gotta get a sponsorship logo.
That's what
on
I was
there.
thinking. I want it. That's what I want to grow into is being able to do.
Well, what's good? See, Bellator, I could actually get sponsorship. So UFC has a sponsorship through Reebok, and they don't let you put anything on their clothes. So it's crappy. I look to make more in sponsors than in the actual fight purse.
Is that
because I could do a lot to promote?
Is that pretty normal
for Bellator? It's normal for the undercard. Yeah.
Oh wow.
For the main card fighter, maybe not, but for the undercard fighter, pretty common.
Okay.
If I could piece together a few sponsors, help me, pay for training. I like to get a massage once a week. Yeah, it's important to get a massage once a week. I need it. I read something that LeBron James spends $1.5 million on his body.
Oh, I believe it.
Every year. Okay, well, that represents a 4% of his income. Okay, I could spend 4% of my income on my body easy.
Yeah.
Why wouldn't I? I heard my wife was like, oh, yeah, well, if you made $40 million, you could spend 1.5. I was like, okay, I don't. But what I do make is X. And I have, let's say, 4% of that. All right, 4%. I probably spend 10% of my budget on my training, though. But I think that's fine. I think if training's important to you, you wind up spending 10% of it.
I think it might even be. I feel like with the nutrition and for me, even though I'm not competing.
Don't count your food, though. Don't count
So
your
just
food.
recovery, right? Or just
Recovery, private lessons,
all right,
seminars, gym
yeah.
membership,
I spend a lot of
clothing.
money on myself in that, and because it's an
Sure.
investment in yourself, and like to perform at our peak, right? Or just to be at our best, and for us to like, I'm very invested in making the most of everything that I have mentally and physically so that I can serve from my overflow and so that I can do the will of God and the universe and just do the thing and be present and experience things. Like I want to be at my best. I'm addicted to feeling good. But in a healthy way. Like I want to live an
But that's only
incredibly
because you know what
vibrant
feeling good. Only because you know what feeling good feels like.
Yeah.
I was saying, how many people don't know what it's like to feel good? They feel half-assed and they don't even
Dude,
know
I
it.
know. I had a
They always have headaches. They always feel sick. Their stomach always hurts. They're always tired. If you wake up in the morning and you're tired, something's wrong there.
yeah.
You shouldn't wake up tired. What went wrong there? That you woke up tired? You just woke up. You're supposed to wake up awake. It's not called, you don't go to sleep when you
Like
wake
get up and
up.
be groggy. Like let's do that.
That doesn't make sense, right? Like, so there's something going on wrong going on there. And then they'll feel like shit. They get into a lot of arguments. They feel, not their best. You just told me this is your third podcast in a row. If you didn't take care of yourself, you wouldn't have the energy
Heck
to do that.
And I even prepared yesterday, like the last 2 days, like I've been preparing to be able to be at the state when I do speaking things, when I'm, when I know that I'm going to have to be on, when I know that I have to be more articulate than I usually am, I'm making sure that my movement's taken care of. I'm making sure that I'm hydrated, that my body has the raw materials it needs so that it can show up at its best at this time. Cause that's, like this is a mark of where I am right now. That's hopefully that's better tomorrow and better the next day. But, there's ebbs and flows in my ability to perform or just show up. So for me, I want to try to be at the best I possibly can be. I woke up, did a little bit of stretching, did a little meditation, had to get ready really quickly because I had to get ready really quickly and get everything fired up, had a little bit of Alpha Brain. So I'm making sure I'm getting those beat vitamins.
Oh, how do you like
Dude,
the Alpha
I love
Brain?
the Alpha
I
Brain.
took it once.
I love it.
Before I took a bottle of it, and I don't know.
Did you?
I don't know if I
Did you
felt
do
anything. I don't know.
like the peach mix, or did you just do the pills?
The pills. What do you do? The instant?
I like the instant because it
gonna try
also
that,
just
maybe.
makes me feel like I'm taking something, and I kind of like the taste of it, and it's almost like a reward for me. Like I enjoy celebrating that I'm taking it, and it's not just a pill. Like it is almost like you can make it more of a ritual where I'm cutting open the thing, I'm emptying the packet, I'm tapping it, I'm doing the little, so I can suck up anything that's in there.
Gotcha.
I'm adding water. I'm watching it go through. There's a ritualization of it where it's paramount to my ability to perform. And I think that it does help with memory and recall. And it's something that I struggle with sometimes. So being able to just give myself an extra edge and being able to invest in that extra edge, I really like the Alpha Brain. And it's something I don't do every day. If I'm allocating resources in different ways right now, at some point here soon, it'll make more sense to just always have it and it'll be a staple because, the things that are in it's all natural stuff. It's B vitamins. It's all good stuff for you. So it's not like a caffeinated push or something that's really taking away from your nervous system's ability to function, or like having that adverse.
Yeah, it's not something that's going to hurt.
Yeah, exactly. Like it's not like downing a ton of caffeine and then having to recover from being on a caffeine high, right? Like you can do that once in a while, but
caffeine is my drug of
dude,
choice.
I love it too. I get it. Like but I'm super sensitive, so I have to be careful about when I add it in. And one of the other things, I'll connect you with Drinko2. It's one of my favorite recovery beverages. It's 7 times more oxygenated than water. It's got it's delicious and it's got caffeine in it, so it's a really good intra workout, post workout, or you could take it pre-workout. I think it's got 26 grams of carbs. So if you're minding or if you have a sensitivity, or you only are adding in carbs after a workout, then it's a better post workout than like it's something that I wouldn't want to start my day with, because I don't want to, that's not when I want to add those macronutrients to my particular
I usually
diet.
would do my carbs after training for me personally. I tend to be fat, so I can get big again really quick. So, because for fighting, we cut weight, and then we wind up the same weight we started cutting from the next day. So let's say I have to be 146 at the fight. I'll start at like 160, lose 14 pounds in like 2 days, and then I'll be 14 pounds heavier the next day.
I don't even know. Like metabolically, I feel like that's so exhausting.
Yeah, why are we doing that? I'll tell you what. So metabolically, there's a couple things you get out of that. First, when you rehydrate, you could, if you do that process properly, you'll get a competitive advantage. So like, let's say I'm good at cutting weight. I might come in the same weight as you at the weigh-ins, but put more on and then have 10 extra pounds on you come time of the fight. And would Gorilla Monsoon say, all things being equal, a really good big man will always beat a really good little man, right? So you want to be bigger, stronger. Every time I take you down, if you want to get back up, you have to move 10 more pounds than I do. Every time you take me down, you have to move more weight. You're going to do more physics. It's just going to, you're just going to work the physics of it. You'll absorb 10 pounds more impact.
Yeah.
Right. So if you could cut weight the right way, it does give you a physical advantage. If you do it the wrong way, the complete opposite, right? It'll drain all your energy, and then you'll perform like crap.
I would imagine that you have the benefit of time with doing this, right? Like these younger guys, they might not necessarily have the experience that you do in terms of doing it right or optimizing, because
it's not going to matter for this one.
Not for this one.
The guy I'm fighting's pretty. Yeah, he doesn't come in too big, so it's not really going to be an issue for him. It's going to be more of an issue for me, but it won't be an issue at all. It'll be something I have to think about and be mindful of, but I'll make the weight. I set out to perform the task, and this is one I have 100% control over. So, I'm pretty confident that I'll do it. I'm not worried about it.
That's exciting.
I don't want to do it. I don't want to do it.
But that means you need to, and you will, and it'll be an incredible teacher for you. It's gonna be freaking awesome, and
you learn a lot through a training camp. So what this is also for me, since I'm so mindful and so present, becomes an accelerated learning experience. So these 8 weeks, really a little more, because I had a feeling I was going to get a fight in. So I've been training an extra 3 or 4 weeks anyway, just because I knew I want to be in camp and be ready to make the most of it. Like, you don't want to come into training camp out of shape.
Yeah, no.
Like, you don't want to come into your off season out of shape. Yeah, an uphill battle. I want to be in shape enough to train, to make it through every session. Like, I want to make it through every session and, be able to spar the rounds and not have to be like, oh, I'm gassed.
Well, great.
Tired.
I'm working on endurance. It's like, well, there's other things that we need to work on.
My skills are the speed of the fight. The skills involved in the fight are paramount, right? Yeah, I don't need to work my conditioning. That's going to happen just a little bit extra just from training more, but I don't want that to be the focus. That should be there. That should be a given. That's the prerequisite for being a professional, is being in good shape. That's the prereq. Yeah, don't pass go. You should come into camp in shape. I mean, a lot of guys don't, and you could get away with that if you're really talented, but, I got to put in all the work mechanically, which I'm ready to do, and I've been doing.
The worst of the worst. The worst of the best.
The worst of the best.
The most of the least.
The most of the least. The most of the least. The best of the worst. You got it. That's my ethos on that. Is that
it
pyramid.
Really? That's awesome.
Yeah, so it lets me know. Oh, did you see what my the name of my training camp is? So I like to do it like it's a military operation.
No, I didn't know. Okay, I don't think I saw it. I might have glazed over it, or I didn't see it. What is it?
Operation Goldilocks. Not too hard, not too soft. Everything just right.
All right, Operation Goldilocks.
So I don't want to train too hard. I don't want to train too soft. Goldilocks. I know it sounds silly, but I'm like, that's reminding myself.
That's where the magic is, right?
You got to do it just right.
The porridge doesn't burn your mouth.
Just right.
And you're not and you're not enjoying the
And
porridge.
don't burn your mouth with the porridge. Exactly.
So on that pyramid, for people who are listening, it's I'll do like a background of that just so that people can check that out, and I'll link to it. But it's a pyramid, and on the base of the pyramid, what it is talking, you do it, it's all like levels. So I think there's 1, 2, 3, 4 levels to the pyramid, and there's different ways that you can kind of work it, and you'll see it. I think it's 4 levels, right?
It's 5 levels. The top is like your manifestation, but it's really 4 levels.
So there's 4 levels that have writing on it. On that base of the pyramid, you have the daily habits, the daily routines, the things that you're doing every single day that are important to you achieving your goals and really stepping into your greatness. Is that a pretty accurate reflection for that level?
Yeah, daily habits. Then the second one is personal interests.
So personal interests, and those for most people are anywhere between like 3 and 5 that people typically will focus on. I know for me, health and fitness is always one. Consciousness is another. Always looking at business stuff. How can I grow my business? How can I be better? Optimization, all of that. And we're in Brooklyn.
And we're in Brooklyn.
Nate.
There's excitement here. There's action. You could get shot without going to war over
Nate,
here.
my engineer, do not edit out the siren.
Don't edit out the siren. Yeah, listen. It's funny? Sometimes it's hard to go to sleep in a quiet place because it's so live over here. It's so live in Brooklyn, Fire engines all night, cop cars, shootouts, keeps you excited.
Yeah, especially when, keeps you on the edge. Your place of work is killing people in a cage. So, yeah.
It's like, not going to get shot here.
Well, that makes sense for you.
Hopefully, yeah. I'm not going to get shot here.
That's awesome. So on the pyramid, it's like the daily habits, your interests, and then I think the next one is another indication that we're in Brooklyn. Hopefully somebody's not dying. Brooklyn.
Brooklyn, stand up.
Oh, that's so awesome.
You have any listeners in Brooklyn? We're gonna have to promote.
I know,
over here.
that's what you're in Brooklyn when it's like
woo.
That's fantastic.
I have my neighbor's house got like rated as a drug spot like every day for like a week.
Oh my gosh.
And then every time they would come out, it would be like one pregnant chick always would be in the mix getting arrested. I'm like, come on, girl. Couldn't go stay by your mom's house that day.
Oh my gosh. It's it's a different world. Brooklyn is a different world.
It's funny. So there's like a metaphor for transformation also. So my neighborhood used to be really nice when I was a kid. And then when I was like a tween, it became ghetto. And it's been ghetto for 20 years, but neighborhoods in Brooklyn tend to turn over. They'll become nice again.
It's like a constant gentrification process.
Gentrification to ghetto to gentrification, yeah. It's I'm holding out. That's my retirement plan for when my house is actually worth a ton of money again. What's your retirement plan? I'm gonna just wait. I'm just gonna wait it out.
I'm gonna sit on it. That's what I'm gonna do.
I'm gonna wait for it to come to me. I'll wait for it to come to me. Although, in what we do, retirement doesn't make sense to me. What am I going to do?
Forever.
One day wake up and decide
from my life journey and passion? Never.
Retire from what? Helping people? Oh, I think I've helped enough people. No,
never.
That doesn't make sense. That makes sense if you have a job that you hate. You want to retire. You want to get away from it. I want to do more. I'm like, what can I do more exciting? Who knows? Obviously I won't be fighting at that point, when people think about retirement, although you never know. I told my, one of my training partners, I was like, Deanna, I have a master's in history. I don't know if I told you this.
I saw a master's in history, and then I saw MMA, but I didn't know if it was like history of MMA or if it was history, comma.
No.
MMA.
I have a master's. Yeah, I have an MA in history and psychology. Well, the psychology would be a S because it was forensic
Oh
psychology.
man, we got to do more
But,
podcasts. We got to. There's so many different fun topics to go.
You know,
into,
it's funny.
so
I was
many.
training today I was training with one of my friends today, and he has a podcast I was on, and my episode didn't come out yet with him, and I was like, oh, you got to put that episode on. You know, it was a lot of fun. And my other training partner was like, oh, would you talk about MMA? And he's like, we didn't even talk about MMA like for more than 5 minutes. We were talking about astral projection and like how I see negativity in life. We talked about a whole bunch of stuff. He's like, just ask Manimal something. He's like, you guys could go all different ways in your conversation. I was like, well, I've been around and I'm such an open person for so long. You know, so you're talking about, 38 years of being open.
Yeah.
Even, it's most people are like, oh, I was closed until this thing happened. But I've always been very outgoing, even as a little kid. Hold on, I got a good little kid story. So I've always been really outgoing, right? Really outgoing, friendly. And my mom and dad, when I was like 6 years old, were like, oh, John should do like TV. He should be in like commercials. So they call an agent who comes over the house and he does interviews, right? So he comes over the house and it's a really easy, basic interview. Like, what do you want to be when you grow up? And I was like, I know what I want to be. He's like, what? I was like, I want to be a ninja. He's like, a what? An engineer? I was like, no, a ninja. Like throwing stars, using a sword, choking guys unconscious, breaking arms, get a few black belts, a ninja. He's like, we're done here. And I wish I could grab that guy now and be like, you bastard. I am a ninja. I am a ninja.
I'm a spiritual ninja.
I'll be like,
thank you very much. I'm a spiritual
I'm an actual ninja. I have a few black belts. I'm a stick fighting champion, knife fighting champion, jiu-jitsu champion. The hell more you want from me? I move quiet when I need to. I was like, man, I am a ninja. I was like, way to kill a kid's dreams.
We're done here. Closes the door.
We're done here.
Isn't that interesting?
We're done here.
Interesting
this kid's a nut.
Isn't that interesting how the things that we love and that we're attracted to and that just like genuinely pique our interest at a young age, like we don't have all of those like the learned society cultural things of like, oh, I need to do something that really makes sense for my 401k, like those things.
So I've never had
those things don't exist, right? Where it's like you can just really be curious, physically and intellectually curious and open and oh, that's interesting, how does this work? Oh, I could do this. I could do that. Oh, this is pretty interesting. Let's go down the rabbit hole.
So that's what I've done for like 20 years. So I had a retail store with my dad. Then I used to make a fitness product, like a weighted. I used to make like a shake weight, I guess.
It's not the aqua
that I'm bringing
one, right?
it back now is a different thing. The club.
Well,
now,
we'll
that's
do
an even better version.
We'll do a whole separate podcast on the aqua weight, the hydro.
The Hydro Club.
I was like, the Aqua Weight. The Hydro Club. It's pretty cool.
Close, though. You're in the right ballpark.
I'll link to that.
You're definitely in the right ballpark.
So that people can check that out because it's pretty cool.
So I'm bringing that back. Then I used to have a clothing company at one point. I owned the gym for years. I'm a professional fighter. I worked as a forensic psychologist in the G building, which is a criminally insane unit. So I've been around. I'm the first person to make an MMA cardio DVD back in the day when people made DVDs.
Way.
Right? You remember that. They were DVDs. Yeah, we had, that you put an actual physical object in to play a tape.
It's like the man, the myth, the legend, the Manimal.
That's good. That's good.
That's amazing.
I like that. That's a good way to end it.
I know, I like that. It's like, John, this podcast has been a ton of fun and super insightful. Congrats again on your contract. Just kidding. That would be the more laced up and perfect one. But it's like, oh yeah,
Manimal training, Manimal meal prep. People have been liking my meal prep.
I didn't even know that was
so
a
simple.
Thing.
I do like one of them. I'll do a meal prep. Yeah, I'll throw it in there randomly, but I'll do a Manimal meal prep. But it's so easy. Like the other day, I made chicken breast wrapped in bacon, slow cooked with stewed apples. So I slow cooked the apples in it. It came out really good. Yeah, and I had food for 4 days. So like nutrition, I don't count in my budget because I could cook pretty well on a budget. Like when I figured it out, it was like each serving cost $5. All right, that's way cheaper than I'd spend on any lunch in New York.
Yeah.
So I could, eating on a budget is easy if you go and buy in bulk, and I'm prepping out. So people just make a lot of excuses. I think it's harder to commit to something, put the work in, and succeed or fail on your own merit. And a lot of people shy away from doing that. They're afraid to find out what's really going on.
Do more fearless.
Do more fear. I'm always scared though.
Right?
I'm scared all the time. That doesn't stop me. Fear's my co-pilot. I'm like, yo, bro, we got some stuff to do. Me and fear, we roll together because I know when I'm doing something exciting, I'm going to be scared. If I'm not doing anything of merit, of course I'm not going to be scared. I'm not doing anything. And I think most people are really comfortable with not pushing the limit. But I mean, I compete in a sport where you could go 100%. So, I pushed the envelope. I want to see, why do 145? Well, let's see if I could do it. Why fight in the cage again? Well, let's see how it looks. Why put in the training camp? So I know guys, pros too, that'll half-ass their training camp so that they could, if they lose, but I didn't really train that hard. I had a bad camp. I had injuries, right? Like some people set themselves up, sabotage themselves without ever really seeing how it'll look. They're afraid to put everything into it and come up short, which I can understand. But, if you don't put anything into it, you have no story. Then you did nothing. Then you just sat there and chilled. You just hung out on the sidelines and was like, oh,
it's safe
I guess
there. But not as much fun.
Well,
not as epic. And not as epic.
Not as epic, yeah. You sit there and protect yourself. Like the kid who was good in high school and was like, yeah, I could have, in his imagination, I could have been a pro and done all this. But you know what? I decided not to. I sprained my ankle. I'm good. It wasn't for me. Come on. Tell me you don't hear that all the time. Someone will be like, oh, you're an athlete? Oh, you played D1 volleyball? Be like, I could have played D1 football, but, I hurt my pinky toe in high school. And
well, that's what it sounds like, right? It's like it gives you like an injury or just something that happened to us gives us permission, or we allow it to give us ourselves permission, or, if it's an excuse to say, oh, well, I'm just not going to do it, or, oh, I don't have to do it, or put ourselves in a position for failure, but it's also putting ourselves in position for success, right? Like, it's like, it could go either way, but being able to take ownership of the win or the loss, like that's a pressure, right? That's a lot of pressure for some people, or that's part of the journey, right? Is sometimes like, can we take ownership of not doing everything we possibly could?
It's a good point. Yeah. It's funny. I always tell myself, if I lose, they bring you in the middle of the, so they announce the winner, no matter how it goes down. If it goes to decision, if you get knocked out, if you knock someone out, they bring both people to the middle. The referee, they have an official decision, right? The announcer comes back into the cage and he's like, the winner at, 3:35 by whatever. And they raise the one guy's hand. And the other guy, just stands there. And I always tell myself, if you're the loser, if you didn't win, you hold your head up high. Keep your head up because you're a warrior. Yeah. You went in there and threw down where everyone else can talk crap and didn't do it. So I'm like, hold your head up. And I tell my guys too, listen, the first time after you lose, the first thing that everyone wants, your fighter wants to apologize to you, like he feels sorry.
It's like sorry,
he let you down. Sorry. And I'm like, you have not. And I always tell them, don't say you're sorry when you lose. You have nothing to apologize for. You went and did what you could do. Yeah. I know how it goes. I've been there. I know you want. Of course, you don't want to lose. Like, who the hell wants?
I came here to lose, John. I came here to lose. Like, what?
You know what? I came here to just get my ass. John, I have something to tell you. I'm a masochist. I came to just get beat up. And I liked it. And then I'm going to go home now and just, cry in the corner and ice my wounds and my broken arm. No one does that. So yeah, I don't like that. I'm like, don't ever apologize. Be like, listen, that's the way it goes. What does Julius Caesar say? The fortunes of warfare are always doubtful. So, it gets dicey in there. Unlike any other endeavor, there's a lot of variables. So I always tell them, like, don't ever apologize. You went in, you stepped in, you put in your camp, especially if a guy put in a good training camp, because you learn a lot in training camp. And the problem is that people forget about the good they do during defeat. Like a lot of people say defeat's a good learning experience, but they actually they learn what they did wrong in defeat. But I think we often gloss over all the things we did right in defeat. Those things you did right didn't go bad. You can't invalidate everything you did because one thing led to loss. So I try to focus on that with my guys too. Like, okay, let's look. What'd you do good in that fight? What'd you do good in that competition? Yeah, you lost. Yes. Okay, but where was the good? What technique did you pull off well? Where I want to look at some good stuff too, because the guy's always going to be focusing on the bad. So I'm trying to come in and bring some good in there. What'd you do good? What about when you threw this? That landed. That was a good shot. Maybe you could have did more of that. Maybe in next camp we'll put that in more. Or I never saw you throw this technique before. That's good. Let's work that in the next camp, right? Let's work on the next fight. So there's a lot of good there that you could gloss over. And winning's almost the worst because then it's easy for a guy to win and forget any of the bad he did in that fight. Like you could have a guy get his ass kicked in a fight and he winds up winning and then he's like, I'm good. Won that fight. I'm like, whoa, there's a lot that went wrong there.
No, I won. That's the only thing that matters. No, I'm just kidding.
But this happens a lot. Yeah, this happens a lot. You're like, I won. I'm good. Especially because you feel so good with the win. You're like, oh, no, I'm good. As like, wait, you did a few things wrong there. You're lucky. You're fortunate, not lucky. You're fortunate that you won. So I think there's a lot of different ways to look at the experience. I try to tell my athletes too. I'm like, the opposite of success is what?
Learning.
What's the? I think the opposite of success is learning. The opposite of success, people always say failure, and I was like, well, no, that can't be it. Because how can something be part of something? Failure's part
so
of
I guess
success.
like not learn or like completely being oblivious to the lesson or just getting nothing. I feel like getting nothing would be.
I think action is the opposite of success. The least successful people do the least. They just don't do anything, right?
Like
the least
nothing.
Successful people. Think about someone, they do nothing, They might criticize a lot too. Oh, this person's only successful because their parents had money. Oh, that guy's gifted, he's always been in great shape. Oh, this guy is on steroids. Oh, this person did, right? They'll have a million critiques of everyone. And they never stepped up. They never took an at bat. They're just telling you how this guy messed up his at bat, or why he's inevitably going to win because, he has all this. And they never. So I think the opposite of success is inactivity.
Yeah, I like that.
Success.
I'm going to spread that.
Spread that. I like. Yeah, thank you. Because I think it's important because we get wrapped up and people are like, oh, I failed. I'm done. I'm like, well, you're kind of missing. There's a lot that goes on between that. Failure, isn't like so final. It's like, okay, well, there can only be two outcomes. You either won the fight or like for me, it's such a dichotomy, right? It's like, but I can't allow such a narrowly defined outcome to influence such a powerful process. And that's a lot of things in life. We let a very narrowly defined outcome influence a very powerful process where we learned a ton.
And I think diminishing it to that too can be so simple. And I think culturally and in the media, we see that things are, well, this is the only thing that mattered. And it takes away from the bigger picture and the process and everything that went into it. I think that's a very astute observation.
Yeah. What about all the relationships you make, all the, along the way? Like even like going to the Auburn Markets weekend, right? It costs a good amount of money, traveled for it, takes time away from your family, and I could be like, oh, I didn't make any money off of that, which is some people's measure of success, right?
Or people are looking for the ROI on it, right? It's like, well, we had all this downtime, right? Like we at the Aubrey Marcus weekend, they were very intentional about the way that they scheduled the events, right? So we had most of the morning. We didn't have anything. We didn't start until 10 or 11 most of the days, or like 11 most of the days. So we had a lot of stuff, even though we had like that little activity in the morning that was optional. But there was a lot of time that allowed for for connection. There was a lot of time that allowed for these different conversations and experiences. And I think that you hear like, oh, like, and even me, I was even thinking sometimes I'm like, okay, should I be getting more? Like, it's like that little voice that like, I heard it a couple times, like, oh, well, maybe there should be more, or I was expecting more, or,
Yeah.
oh man, like I could just that voice or judging or thinking when, it did cost a bit of money to go there. And it's like, okay, is this all we get? Or is this what this thing is? But you hear it and you go, oh no, I don't even know if that's not what I think. No, this is very valuable regardless. It's not measured in the ROI. It's not measured in, money or success or, was this worth my time or energy? Like those are seeds. Those are seeds that are planted. Those are the things that you won't know until later, or like diminishing it to that small thing. Like, what's the ROI on this?
Yeah, and I think we do that often. But our perception is normally so small that it's often bad to think about it that way. Not bad. I don't like to use right, wrong, good, bad, but it's often not efficient to think of it like return on investment, because there could be, it could cause something to happen that's meaningful in ways you didn't even imagine, right down the line. And you can't put a price on human interaction. What about just meeting someone that makes you feel good? I can't put a price on that, but you meet someone that just makes you feel good, and you're like, wow, or makes you think about something a different way. Can't put a return on investment, but someone makes me think about something a way I haven't before, or even just like doing my energy work. After getting to do that, now I'm like, okay, I could do more of that, right? If I see it, I'll do it more. Okay, that opened me up. Like, okay, don't be shy. Just feel it out. See where you can do it, and it's okay to have a bunch of different aspects of your being that don't always get to be expressed. I don't have to express every aspect of my being all the time. It's okay. Which I think sometimes you could feel like I can't share myself because there's so much going on and so many different aspects of my personality. And most people, I think, have a lot of different aspects of their personality, and they feel like I can only express this. And you see it with parents all the time. I'm a mother. And their identity becomes that. Oh, I can't do that. I'm a mom. And then some people are like, well, why can't I do that? Because I'm a mom. Right? What is that? That's only one piece. But some people will make one thing everything.
John, this podcast has been my favorite today. And like I said, I did 3 podcasts today, and this one, it was super duper fun. And I know we rode the wave of energy together and covered 1,000 different topics. And I'm really excited to get feedback from this episode, because there's just so many different things that we touched on and so many great things that you brought up. And I look forward to doing more podcasts and hearing how this fighting camp goes, or this training camp goes. I was going to ask you, what's next, but it's pretty obvious. The next thing that you've got is this training camp, and then
my training camp. I try to do it seasonally like nature does it. So now's the season for fighting. After that, it'll be the season for growth in my business aspects, do my training camp, see what lessons I learned during my own fight prep. And then I learned some things at the Auburn Marcus weekend I want to incorporate into my training camps. That if people are interested, check me out at manimaltrainingcamp.com. You can find me at John the Manimal Beneduce on Instagram. That's probably the best place to keep up with me. I'll be doing a lot of training highlights there, and jumping in the
and
ocean
doing crazy manscaped homeless activities.
I'm gonna have to manscape myself a little bit. Deanna, it was really great coming on. Make sure keep following the journey, and looking to bring the win back for our crew. You guys are part of
I'm so excited. Thank you so much. I hope you, the listener, enjoyed John's. What's that? Oh yeah, it's going out today.
Getting the book.
I gotta take it to the store today. So, and I put a shirt in there for you. Yeah, and I'll probably send you. I've got a couple more that are coming in, but I'll make sure that those come up for you. So I'll be sending out some stuff for you too. Okay, good.
Make sure
That's what I
it's
put in there.
medium.
So I'll put it in there. So I hope you, the listeners, enjoyed John's journey and hope you'll continue to come back to this podcast and become inspired by the stories and empowered by the strategy so you can level up, unlock your true potential, and enjoy your own journey and become a manimal like John. I'm
Manimal
so
training camp.
incredibly grateful for your attention and hope you got something special out of this episode. Make sure you follow John the Manimal, and I'll go ahead and link to all of those. He's very easy and very fun to follow. Please subscribe and leave us a 5-star review. And don't forget to tell your teammates and friends about this podcast. If you want to see us interact, which I highly recommend because we do a lot of stuff with our hands and with the pyramid and everything. So if you want to watch that episode, just go to YouTube and you can join us on the journey online at www.BeTheWinningElement.com. Until next time, train with purpose, play with passion, and seize the day every day.